Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, a date is set for Hull's A63 bridge, the future of a Hull mobility charity is secured, and the John Betjeman Trail in East Lincolnshire. And later in tonight's programme, I'll be talking to Roger Bentley about rucksacks, and before that, Catherine White and Sonia Barras on writing wills. Hull's Castle Street upgrade will go ahead earlier than planned. The Hull West and Hessel MP Emma Hardy made the announcement today after reassurances were given yesterday by the Transport Minister Chris Grayling, the Secretary of State, that the A63 bridge will be built in 2018. The Member of Parliament said she'll continue to put pressure on the government and Highways England to stick to the plans for the remainder of the main scheme. That's expected to start in 2020. The bridge will link the city centre to the marina. Today is the last day for residents in East Yorkshire to have their say on proposed improvements to sheltered housing provision. East Riding Council wants to transform the service to help reduce social isolation. The council owns and manages 1,800 sheltered housing properties across 47 schemes. Every tenant has been contacted for their views on the proposals and what they mean for the housing scheme where they live. A vital Hull charity is celebrating after its future was secured. Travel Extra, currently based in Paragon Station, rents out mobility scooters to some of the city's most vulnerable people. But the charity faced closure in the summer when it couldn't pay the rent. The charity will now move to a new space with the Hull Council of Disabled People in Ferrens Way. Director of the charity, Joyce Korchak Fields, is delighted with the outcome.
I can't describe it. It's like having Christmas, 100 Christmases all in one day. Because it is such an invaluable service for people. People don't realise, that they can go off, they can have meals with their family, their friends, they can go and do shopping. It gives them the independence that a lot of disabled people just yearn for.
We had to tell people that the service was going to end, and they, I've had a chap nearly in tears saying, I just do not know what I'm going to do now. He said, I'll be sat in the house doing nothing, can't get out, he said, and everybody thinks it's fantastic. We just wanted the service to continue. Whatever happened, we wanted the service to continue. And thank God it will do.
And we're handing out letters now saying we are keeping running, we are keeping opening, but we're just going across the road, across from St Stephen's shopping centre. Directly across from it is the Council for Disabled People, and they're very generous and kind, and we're going to move the whole fleet and our units and everything over there.
Parents across the East Riding are being urged to think about safety when buying Halloween costumes. East Riding Council says people should look out for a CE mark, a declaration that the clothing is safe. The dangers of costumes catching fire hit the headlines in 2014 when the daughter of television presenter Claudia Winkleman suffered serious burns when her witch's outfit was set on fire by a tea light in a lantern. Lincolnshire police are looking at ways to challenge Islamophobia. They've been visiting schools to deliver the Prevent project. It's part of the government's counter-terror strategy, which protects vulnerable individuals who are at risk of radicalisation. Officers say that by engaging with schools, young people can guard themselves and others from being drawn towards extremism. Poet, preservationist and campaigner John Betjeman, poet laureate actually, his legacy in Lincolnshire is to be celebrated with a new trail. On the trail of Sir John Betjeman traces the writer's connections throughout East Lincolnshire. The trail's been put together by East Lindsey District Council and the Lincolnshire branch of the John Betjeman Society. Fred McNamara spoke to the Society's secretary, Stuart Crook, to find out more.
Poet, TV presenter and campaigner John Betjeman was a regular visitor of Lincolnshire. He wrote several poems about the county. As part of the World's Words Festival, a trail has been launched in East Lincolnshire to celebrate Betjeman's connections to the county. It joins several towns, villages and cities together that connect in some way to Betjeman's life and work.
He often stayed in Louth. He had a friend there called Jack Yates, who was a bookseller in Louth. He also stayed with friends in Kirkby-on-Bane. He had a friend there. He also had another friend near Grantham, so he was quite a frequent visitor, knew the county well. The leaflet that's been produced is called On the Trail of Sir John Betjeman. It includes reproductions of the poems, but it also shows all the places that he had associations with. Obviously St Margaret's Church here in Huttoft, Kirkby-on-Bane, Woodhall Spa, Tennyson Country and so on. Lincolnshire is an extraordinary county. It has links to so many famous people, and John Betjeman is just one of those. There are already leaflets about other famous people in Lincolnshire like Tennyson and Franklin, but I think associating people with places, famous people, it does bring the places to life and gives you a different insight into what they have to offer.
North Lincolnshire has a new health chief. Emma Latimer has been appointed as the interim accountable officer for NHS North Lincolnshire Clinical Commissioning Group. It follows the resignation of the group's chief officer, Leanne Langdon, earlier this month. Latimer will combine her new position with her existing role as accountable officer for NHS Hull CCG. Stagecoach East Midlands has been working with Hull School of Art and Design to transform 2 double-decker buses into an artistic masterpiece. In celebration of Hull 2017, the students were asked to produce a design for the bus's exteriors as part of the Hull Bus Strokes project. The final bus was unveiled today. Lauren Jones is one of the students involved with the design.
My idea was to bring in City of Culture and Hull as a community to get this design of handprints. City of Culture is a big thing about bringing people into the city, but I thought about bringing the people in the city together, which I thought handprints, what better way.
Getting the children involved in it, not only do they involved in such a fun thing, but to then be able to see it as they're walking around the streets with parents and things and see the bus go by and see that that's their handprints. It involves them in what we want to do, which is bringing the community together along with Stagecoach.
New research by Will Aid has revealed more than half of UK parents have not made a will. So I'm joined now by Catherine White and Sonia Barras of Barras White Legal to tell me more how vital will writing is. Welcome. Thank you both very much for coming in. Now, you're a pair of lawyers, so you're going to be absolute experts in keeping me informed here. Why is it, Catherine, start with you, why is it so important to write a will?
Really so that everybody knows what you want to happen after you've died. When you're the one person that would normally tell them, you're not able to do so, and then it's to ensure that what you want, where you want your assets to go, that's where they go. You can appoint guardians for children, you can set up trusts for disabled relatives, anything.
So all the money that you've spent a lifetime making and saving, because apparently there's a law that says you can't take it with you, that you get to decide who that goes to. Sonia, why is it then that we haven't all made wills? Because it seems like such a simple and easy thing to do. It's a little bit worrying that there are so many people who haven't done it.
It is a little bit, really, and I would say that it is something that most people should consider. A lot of the reasons when people are asked why they haven't made a will, sometimes they say they haven't got around to it, and also it's because they don't want to think about death, which is understandable.
But it's also inevitable. It's a little bit unwise not to be aware of your own mortality. Is it a complicated process?
No, it's not really complicated. If people came to us for a will, we would either go through with them a questionnaire that we have that sets out the basic facts, so who are the family, what assets they've got, where they want the money to go, if they want to make any gifts, that sort of thing. And once they've thought about those things, it's really relatively straightforward for us to draw up a will for them.
And it's quite a formal document. Does it still say of sound mind and body and all that sort of business, all that rather archaic legal language at the top?
Not so much, no, not anymore. As long as it's clear on the face of it that it is your last will and testament, that's what you intend it to be. It's in writing, dated, signed and witnessed by 2 people, and all of the provisions are clear as to what you intend. That's all we need to achieve now.
Now, what's happening in November, which starts tomorrow, is Will Writing Month. I'm sure I got the name of it wrong.
It's Will Aid Month.
Will Aid Month. What is Will Aid?
Will Aid is a national scheme set up to support 9 different charities. That includes NSPCC, Age UK, and other charities that can all be found on the Will Aid website. People come to participating solicitors to have a professionally drafted will, and then instead of paying the normal fee, they make a donation to Will Aid.
Oh, okay. So you're sort of contributing your services, as it were, free, gratis, and for nothing.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Sonny, what happens if you don't leave a will? You say I've got £1 million. Please say I've got £1 million, and I get knocked over by a bus tomorrow. I don't have a will. What happens to the dosh?
Well, your estate would pass under the laws of intestacy, so it depends what family you've got. If you had a wife, then the wife would get the lion's share of it, but it's quite complicated, but the estate would follow certain paths, set paths, so you wouldn't have a say in it. For instance, you may have 2 or 3 children and you can't stand one of them, and you don't want them to inherit, but if you haven't made a will, you've got no choice in that.
Well, the will reading, as you suggest there, the will reading is one of the set pieces of Victorian melodrama, isn't it? This is how families go to war. If people want to write a will, I hope they'll be inspired to do it by this. Just turn up at the lawyers and mention Will Aid next month, and it'll get sorted out.
Well, there's a Will Aid website,
Okay.
www.willaid.org.uk, that has all of the details of the participating solicitors on, or they can just ring a local solicitor and see if they can be fitted in.
Thank you both very much for coming in. Join me after the break. Fred will bring us around with all the latest sporting news, and I'll be talking to Roger Bentley about the rucksack or the backpack challenge. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, Fred brings us a roundup of all the latest sports news, and I'll be talking to Roger Bentley about the backpack challenge. Renewables and culture could make Hull the power in the Northern Powerhouse. That's the message from senior figures in business today. Business leaders met with Hull MPs Diana Johnson and Emma Hardy to discuss key issues at a recent business lunch. Ms Johnson said Hull is facing a key period in its history thanks to the vast renewable opportunities in the North Sea and the new image achieved by Hull as the UK's city of culture. The MPs agreed on the importance of both sides of the Humber being part of any final devolution settlement. Reckitt Benckiser is investing £105 million in the city with its Centre for Scientific Excellence, the largest investment in the company's history. The new facility will be operational by next year. Business people across the East Riding are celebrating success in the UK's biggest tourism awards ceremony. The Yorkshire White Rose Awards were held in Leeds last night, attended by over 1,000 people. Hull Truck Theatre was crowned winner of the Arts and Culture Award, and Bridlington Tourist Information Centre was named Top Visitor Information. A social housing provider is set to benefit from a £1 million thermal efficiency programme. Over 80 shoreline homes in North East Lincolnshire have external wall insulation as well as efficient windows, doors and roofs as winter approaches. Work will commence in January and be completed by March. And work to improve a nature trail in East Yorkshire is set to start. A number of improvements will be made to the South Landing Local Nature Reserve in Flamborough, which will include upgrading the surface. It's deteriorated in recent years, making it unsuitable for wheelchairs and pushchairs. Several drains will also be installed to help prevent future surface erosion. The trail will be closed while the work is done, and that starts on Monday. It's expected to be completed by December. Now, I'm joined by Roger Bentley to tell me about the Backpack Challenge, a project helping homeless people, not only in North East Lincolnshire, not only in Lincolnshire, but throughout the country. Roger, welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Good evening, thank you.
What is the Backpack Challenge?
What it is, it's originally a locally based community programme where we invite volunteers to help us provide completed rucksacks or backpacks to give out to the homeless community and also people who are vulnerable, financially vulnerable. So it's a project that started in Bristol. It went worldwide. It's since had a demise, but we've reshaped it and repackaged it. And I've been doing this now for 4 years.
And what sort of things go in the backpack?
Anything that's going to keep somebody warm on the streets, vital stuff as hats, gloves, thermal underwear, scarves, and normal everyday essentials that we're probably used to not wondering about, things like toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap, wet wipes, and very importantly a thermos flask, which is actually life-saving.
just to get a hot cup of tea in the evening. So.
Basically, yeah, but what I want to roll out is the idea of having a rucksack logo in any shops and restaurants, which means basically you can go and get a flask full of hot water. That means you can convert hot soups, you can do pot noodles, and in winter it can be the difference between life and death.
How many people, let's just say in North East Lincolnshire, because that's where you're based, I think, I'm right in saying.
That's correct, yeah.
How many homeless people are there?
The definition of homeless is a wide-ranging article.
It is, it's difficult. But let's just say people sleeping on the streets.
Street homeless around Grimsby and Cleethorpes area, there are only a core hardcore area of about 8 to 10, but there are then people sofa surfing, and there are people in, hidden away who are not part of the system of counting. We are aware of other people who street sleep, and now we're going all over the place. Lincolnshire, Skegness is a massive area of street sleepers. There's 30 or 40 there. Lincoln, we service 30 or 40 on Saturday nights. But there are many hidden homeless who actually won't even come out and come near our outreaches because they don't particularly want to be around people. They're scared, they're nervous, they've gone through trauma. There's a lot of mental distress on the streets, PTSD with the soldiers. There's a lot of chemical and substance abuse and alcohol abuse that's on the streets, but that doesn't interest us in the sense that we don't judge. We just, if they're cold, we will make them warm, we will give them blankets, we will give them sleeping bags. If they're hungry, we will feed them. If they need help, we will help them. We've got a nurse on standby who's with us. We've got another one coming next time. We're organising haircuts for people because people at the end of the day have got a common right just to be clean and tidy if they choose to be.
You mentioned some of the causes there. I was going to ask, is it just an economic matter that people can't afford rents or mortgages?
There's a massive problem at the minute with the austerity measures that have been happening for the last maybe 5 years onwards. But I know of people who are on £35,000–40,000 a year who have ended up on the streets. So it's a consequence of job loss? It can be a consequence of a relationship breakdown, which follows often it's mental breakdown, financial breakdown. There is actually one man I know in the streets of London who was on £500,000 a year and ended up street homeless due to a tragic accident in his life. Well,
a little bit of saving might have been useful there, and if you're on £500,000 a year.
Well, what it was now is, his wife and daughter were tragically killed in an accident, and he lost the plot basically, and he turned to alcohol. So therefore, we do not judge anybody or for any reason what they're on the streets for. Whatever they're there for, we don't mind. We just want to sort things out.
Of course not, and chances are there's some sort of horrible story behind many of these situations.
Yeah.
If people want to get involved and help in the Backpack Challenge or anything else, how can they get in touch? What should they do?
I'm on Facebook. I've been running this group, say, for 4 years now, and it is literally look on Facebook and you can find me, Roger Bentley, or you can find the Backpack Challenge, Grimsby, Cleethorpes and Lincolnshire. As soon as you type it in, it does that. Also, there's my group on here. It's my friend's group, Paul Jackman, Still Human Outreach. That's a Louth-based group. I'm his admin partner. We've got a feeding group here locally. We Are One Foundation, who are a sister group of ours. They are the acorn that fell off the tree. They're amazing. They feed 80 to 100 people every Saturday. They give them a bag to take away, and
that's nationally, is it 82?
80 to 100 every Saturday in Grimsby alone.
Right.
And it's done with the help of his church and a church. There's money available in the churches, but we are a cashless operation. We rely purely on donations from the general public, and I'm now after business people because the general public have been marvellous around here, and a lot of the donations come from impoverished areas. And I find that amazing. But the honesty and the justice I see the misjustice I see on the streets, I just start a conversation with them.
Absolutely, Roger. Thank you very much. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much indeed.
Here's Fred with all the sports news.
The class of Grimsby Town's promotion-winning 2016 season are back at Blundell Park tonight. The Craig Disley benefit game will see Wembley heroes, including James McEwen, Padraig Amond and Disley himself, line up together for one final time. The match will be captained by Mariners legend John McDermott. However, boss Russell Slade says he would encourage the club to bring former player Disley into a coaching role with the Mariners.
Oh yeah, but you'd have to speak to Neil about the possibilities of that. But yeah, what I think is that the more kind of experience you've got round your young players and that can offer advice, that can help the kids, the better. And if they're ex-players of the football club, that means even more. So yeah, if you can get the likes of Diz involved in your development, your early development of your players, then that's fantastic for the football club, to be honest. I wouldn't be against that at all. In fact, I go the opposite. I'd encourage it. Well, yeah.
Hull City host Middlesbrough at the KCOM Stadium tonight. Defender Max Clark is looking forward to the game, though knows the importance of bouncing back after a defeat to Nottingham Forest at the weekend. The 21-year-old is enjoying a breakthrough season with his hometown club. Kick-off is at 7:45 p.m. Hull FC trios Siku Manu, Mark Milicello and Burita Fraremo have been named in their respective nations' team for Week 2 of the World Cup. Captains of their nations, Manu and Milicello, will lead Tonga and Italy, with the Tongas taking on Samoa and the Italians facing the United States. Maneira will be hoping to make it to 2 wins from 2 in the competition, whilst Italy will be aiming to get their tournament underway, having lost out against Ireland. Fraremo will go head-to-head with one of his future teammates in Milicello on Sunday when the two nations meet in Townsville. Scunthorpe United visit Doncaster Rovers tonight. Buoyed by 2 league wins in succession, the Irons arrive at the Keepmoat Stadium in confident mood, though manager Graham Alexander might freshen up his team ahead of the match. Both teams have already qualified for the next stage of the competition after their previous 2 group stage results. An Iron victory will see them group to the top. Kick-off is at 7:30 p.m. And finally, some rugby union results from the weekend. Hull Indians lost 15-30 to Middlesbrough, who took an early lead with a Jack Baggett penalty. Hull Indians started strongly in the second half, but eventually Middlesbrough increased their lead to win by a somewhat flattering 30-15 margin. And that's all for the sport.
Thank you, Fred. That's all for tonight. If you have a news story or anything else for us, please get in touch via Twitter or Facebook. Details, that's nice, they're appearing below today. Or email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472315553 or write to us at Estuary TV DN345BQ. Probably get to us until tomorrow. Good evening.